There is a phase in life most people misunderstand. A phase where nothing seems to be happening. No applause, no recognition, no visible progress, just silence. The quiet years. And in those years, something very important is taking place, but only if you stay long enough to see it. Because while the world thinks you are stuck, you are actually being shaped. In silence, your discipline is being tested. In isolation, your mindset is being rebuilt. In delay, your patience is being strengthened. And what feels like nothing is actually everything under construction. Though most people fear these years, they panic, they compare, they quit. But the ones who understand something deeper stay. They keep working when it makes no sense. They keep believing when there is no evidence. They keep moving when there is no motivation. And slowly, something begins to change. Not outside, inside. You stop needing validation. You stop chasing approval. You stop reacting emotionally to every setback. And without even realizing it, you become dangerous. Not loud dangerous, not aggressive dangerous, but disciplined dangerous, focused dangerous, unshakable dangerous. Because now you are no longer controlled by circumstances, you are controlled by clarity. And clarity only comes after silence is survived, not avoided. So if you are in that phase right now, don't rush it, don't escape it, and don't underestimate it. Because the quiet years are not delaying you, they are preparing you. And when they are done with you, you will not be the same person who entered them. The quiet years will make you dangerous. The hidden formation, the quiet years are not empty. They only feel empty to people who are addicted to noise, to movement without meaning, to results without roots, to progress without patience. But real growth never looks impressive in the beginning. It looks slow, it looks delayed, it looks invisible. And that is exactly where most people get it wrong, because they assume that if something is not showing outside, it is not happening inside. But life does not work that way. Some of the most important changes in a human being happen where no one can see them, in silence, in repetition, in solitude, in the quiet years. This is the stage where life is not rewarding you yet, but it is revealing you. It is showing you who you are when motivation disappears. It is showing you who you are when nobody is watching. It is showing you who you are when nothing is working. And that is not punishment. That is preparation. Because if you cannot handle the process, you will never be trusted with the outcome. Most people want transformation without discomfort. They want strength without struggle. They want success without silence. They want identity without discipline. But that is not how greatness is built. Greatness is built in repetition. Doing the same hard things again and again when nobody claps for it, when nobody notices it, when nobody understands why you are still doing it. And that is where identity starts forming. Not in moments of success, but in moments of resistance. Every time you show up when it is hard, you are not just completing a task, you are rewriting who you are. And slowly, without realizing it, you stop being someone who tries, and you become someone who does. That shift is not loud. It does not announce itself, but it is powerful enough to change your entire life direction. Because once your identity changes, your decisions change. And once your decisions change, your future changes. That is why the quiet years matter so much. They are not testing your talent. They are building your identity. And identity is the strongest force in your life. Not emotion, not circumstances, not even opportunity. Identity. Because you will always act according to who you believe you are. So in the quiet years, life is quietly asking you one question again and again. Who are you becoming when nothing is happening? Are you becoming someone who quits quietly or someone who builds silently? Are you becoming someone who reacts emotionally or someone who responds intentionally? Are you becoming someone who depends on results to stay consistent or someone whose consistency creates results? This is where most people break without even realizing it. Not because life was too hard, but because silence was too long. They mistook delay for denial. They mistook invisibility for failure. They mistook slow progress for no progress. And they left the process right before it started paying them back. But those who stay begin to notice something strange. The same work that once felt pointless starts feeling natural. The discipline that once felt forced starts feeling automatic. The patience that once felt heavy starts feeling calm. And without realizing it, you are no longer forcing yourself to grow. You are becoming growth itself. That is the danger. Because when a person reaches that level, they are no longer dependent on external motivation. They are internally driven. They do not need hype. They do not need validation. They do not need perfect conditions. They just move, steady, focused, unbothered. And that kind of person is extremely rare. Because most people are emotional with their effort. If life feels good, they work. If life feels hard, they stop. If results appear, they continue. If results delay, they doubt. But in the quiet years, you learn something different. You learn to separate emotion from execution. You learn that feelings are not instructions, and that discipline is not about mood, it is about identity. And slowly something dangerous begins to form inside you. Not arrogance, not ego, not pride, but certainty. Certainty that you will not stop. Certainty that you will not fold. Certainty that you will not abandon yourself again. And that certainty changes everything. Because now, even when nothing is visible, you still move like something is being built. And it is. It always is. Just not in the way people expect. So if you are in the quiet years right now, understand this clearly: nothing is being wasted. Every silent day is building structure inside you. Every difficult moment is adding weight to your discipline. Every unseen effort is strengthening your future foundation. And one day, when the results finally appear, people will think it happened suddenly. But you will know the truth. It did not happen suddenly. It was built quietly. And that is what makes you dangerous. The quiet years do something most people never understand. They remove everything unnecessary from you. At first, you don't notice it. You think nothing is changing. You think life is just repeating itself. You think you are stuck in the same place. But slowly, life starts stripping you down. It removes distractions that used to control your attention. It removes people who are not aligned with your growth. It removes habits that gave you temporary comfort but long-term weakness. And in the beginning, this feels like loss. But it is not loss. It is purification. Because you cannot become dangerous while carrying everything that weakens you. So life makes you lighter. It makes your circle smaller. It makes your focus sharper. It makes your mind quieter. And in that silence, something begins to rise inside you. Awareness. You start noticing patterns you ignored before. You start seeing consequences more clearly. You start understanding the cost of every decision. And this awareness changes how you move. You stop wasting energy on things that do not matter. You stop chasing people who are not consistent. You stop reacting to everything emotionally. Not because life became easier, but because you became wiser. You cannot construct a strong identity while constantly escaping yourself. So life forces you into stillness, not to punish you, but to rebuild you. And slowly you start noticing something different. Your reactions change. Where you once reacted emotionally, now you pause. Where you once gave up quickly, now you stay longer. Where you once doubted instantly, now you observe first. This pause becomes your power. Because in that pause, you are no longer controlled by impulse. You are controlled by awareness. And awareness creates space between emotion and action. That space is everything. Because most people ruin their progress in that space. They react too fast. They decide too quickly. They quit too early. But you are learning to use that space differently. You are learning to respond instead of react. And that single shift changes your entire trajectory. Because now nothing controls you instantly. Not failure, not pressure, not emotion. You process everything before you move. And this makes your decisions stronger, not faster, stronger. And strength always outlasts speed. The quiet years also remove something else from you: the need to be understood by everyone. You stop explaining your journey to people who were never meant to understand it. You stop seeking approval from people who are not walking your path. You stop expecting validation from people who have not seen your sacrifice. And in doing so, you become lighter again. Because explanation is heavy. Constantly trying to be understood drains energy. So you stop doing it, and instead you focus on becoming undeniable. Because undeniable people do not need explanations, their results speak for them. But before results arrive, silence arrives first. And in that silence you build without permission. You work without applause. You grow without recognition. You improve without validation. And this is where most people underestimate the process because they think success is built in public. But real success is built in private, in the moments nobody records, in the hours nobody sees, in the effort nobody claps for. That is where transformation actually happens. And the longer you stay in that phase, the more dangerous you become. Not because you are aggressive, but because you are consistent. And consistency is something most people cannot compete with, because most people depend on motivation, and motivation is temporary, but discipline is permanent. And when discipline becomes your foundation, you no longer need emotional energy to move forward. You just move, even when it is slow, even when it is quiet, even when nothing feels rewarding, because you understand something deeper now. Every action compounds, even the small ones, even the invisible ones, even the unrecognized ones. They are all building something. And one day all of it shows up at once, not gradually, but visibly. And people will call it sudden success. But you will know the truth. Nothing was sudden. Everything was built in silence. And that silence shaped you into someone different, someone stable, someone focused, someone dangerous in a quiet way. Not because you seek attention, but because you no longer need it. And once you reach the stage, something inside you becomes irreversible. You stop being influenced the same way you used to be. Before, a delay could shake your confidence. Before, a failure could change your mood. Before, a setback could make you question everything. But now, you have seen too much of the process to be shaken by a single moment. You understand that nothing meaningful grows in a straight line. Everything real grows in cycles. Progress, pause, pressure, then progress again. And the people who cannot survive the pause will never reach the next level of progress. That is the difference. Not intelligence, not opportunity, not talent, but tolerance for delay. And you have built that tolerance in silence, without applause, without recognition, without external validation. Just repetition, just consistency, just showing up when it made no sense to show up. And now that consistency has started to shape your identity. You no longer think like someone who is waiting for life to change. You think like someone who is changing life through repetition. That is a powerful shift, because waiting keeps you passive, but building keeps you active. And active minds do not stay stuck for long. They move, they adjust, they improve, even when progress is invisible. Especially when progress is invisible, because you understand something most people don't. Invisible progress is still progress. It just hasn't been revealed yet. And revelation always comes after repetition, not before it. So you keep going. Not because it feels rewarding, not because it is easy, not because you are guaranteed results, but because stopping would mean abandoning everything you have built internally, and you are no longer willing to do that. But the quiet years also change your relationship with time. Before, you wanted things fast, you wanted immediate results. You wanted quick confirmation that your effort was working. But now you respect time. You understand that anything strong requires duration. You cannot rush stability. You cannot rush maturity. You cannot rush identity. And anything rushed becomes fragile. So you slow down mentally, not in effort, but in expectation. You stop expecting overnight transformation, and instead you focus on daily alignment. What you do today, what you repeat today, what you improve today, and that focus removes pressure. Because pressure comes from unrealistic timelines, but discipline comes from realistic repetition, and repetition removes confusion, because now you are not guessing, you are building. Step by step, day by day, decision by decision, and slowly, without dramatic change, you become someone different. Not in appearance, but in presence. People start noticing it before they understand it. There is a calmness in you, a focus in you, a seriousness in you. Not emotional seriousness, but grounded seriousness. The kind that does not get easily distracted. The kind that does not get easily influenced. The kind that does not get easily broken. And this is what makes you dangerous in silence. Because while others are reacting, you are constructing. While others are quitting, you are continuing. While others are searching for shortcuts, you are mastering repetition. And repetition always wins in the long term. Always. Because shortcuts fade, motivation fades, emotions fade. But what is repeated becomes permanent. And what becomes permanent becomes identity, and identity becomes outcome. So the quiet years are not just passing time. They are embedding identity into you, without noise, without warning, without permission. And when it is done, you will not need to become dangerous. You will already be it. Not because you chose it in one moment, but because you built it in thousands of silent. And when you stay long enough in the quiet years, something else begins to happen that most people never expect. Your patience stops feeling like patience. It starts feeling like power. Because patience is often misunderstood. People think patience means waiting, but real patience means controlled persistence. It means continuing without emotional collapse. It means moving without visible reward. It means trusting a process that has not yet proven itself externally. And that is not easy. Not at the beginning. It feels like nothing is working. You question yourself. You question your direction. You question your effort. But if you stay long enough, those questions start disappearing. Not because life suddenly becomes easier, but because you become stronger than your doubts. And that is the turning point. The quiet years are not designed to give you answers immediately. They are designed to remove your dependence on immediate answers. Because people who need instant clarity will always struggle in long processes. But people who can continue without clarity become unstoppable. And this is where your mindset begins to evolve. You stop asking, when will this work? And you start asking, what do I need to keep doing? That shift is everything, because one question keeps you stuck in time and the other keeps you active in progress. And progress, even slow progress, always leads somewhere. Stillness does not, so you keep moving, even when nothing confirms your movement is correct, even when results are absent. Even when external validation is silent, because you understand something deeper now. Validation is not the source of truth. Consistency is, and consistency does not require witnesses. It only requires discipline, and discipline is built in private, in decisions no one sees, in choices no one praises, in sacrifices no one acknowledges. That is where real transformation happens. And the longer you stay in that space, the more your identity detaches from external approval. You stop needing people to understand your process, because you finally understand it yourself. And understanding yourself removes confusion. Once confusion is gone, direction becomes obvious. And when direction becomes obvious, execution becomes natural. And when execution becomes natural, life starts shifting without force, not suddenly, but steadily. Like something aligning in the background. And that is exactly what the quiet years are doing. They are aligning you with your future self, even if you cannot see it yet, even if you cannot measure it yet, even if you cannot prove it yet. It is still happening, because repetition is never wasted. Every repeated effort is a deposit into your future identity. Every disciplined action is a reinforcement of who you are becoming. And every time you choose consistency over comfort, you are building something invisible but permanent. And over time, those invisible actions become visible results. But by then, you are no longer the same person who started, because success does not just change your situation, it changes your perception of yourself. And that is why the quiet years matter so much. They are not preparing your life, they are preparing your identity. And identity always arrives before outcome, not after it. So if you feel like nothing is happening, that is only from the surface. Below the surface, everything is changing. Your discipline is becoming automatic. Your focus is becoming sharper. Your emotional reactions are becoming calmer. And those internal changes are more valuable than any external result at this stage, because external results can be taken away, but internal structure stays with you. And that structure is what makes you stable in future pressure, because life will test you again. Not once, multiple times. And each test will require the same thing, not talent, not luck, but stability under pressure. And stability is built in silence. So when the quiet years feel heavy, understand this clearly. They are not slowing you down, they are strengthening your foundation. And a strong foundation does not feel exciting while it is being built, but it determines everything that comes after it. So continue, not because it feels good, but because it is shaping you into someone who no longer breaks easily, someone who no longer doubts quickly, someone who no longer stops unnecessarily, someone who becomes dangerous not through aggression, but through consistency that never fades. And then something very subtle begins to happen in you. You stop being impressed by fast things, fast success, fast motivation, fast results, fast changes. Because you have lived long enough inside slow growth to understand a deeper truth. Anything that comes fast usually leaves fast. And anything that is built slowly stays. That is why your mindset begins to shift without you even realizing it. You are no longer chasing intensity. You are chasing consistency because intensity burns out, but consistency compounds, and compounding is invisible at first. That is why most people never respect it in the beginning. They cannot see it working. But just because it cannot be seen does not mean it is not building. And you start to understand this on a deeper level. You begin to respect the unseen work, the days where nothing feels productive, the nights where progress feels silent, the moments where effort feels disconnected from outcome. Because now you know those are not empty moments. Those are construction moments, and construction is never loud. Buildings are not made with noise, they are made with structure, and structure takes time to rise. So you stop rushing yourself, not because you lost ambition, but because you gained understanding. You understand that rushing something that is meant to be built slowly only creates weakness, and weakness is not your goal anymore. You are not trying to become fast, you are trying to become solid. And solidity is built in repetition, in weakness. Doing the same disciplined actions over and over again until they no longer feel like effort, until they feel like identity. And once identity forms, everything changes. Because identity does not negotiate. Identity does not wait for motivation. Identity does not depend on mood. Identity does not rely on circumstances. Identity simply acts. And that is what the quiet years are shaping inside you. A version of you that does not argue with discipline. It just follows it. Even when no one is watching. Even when nothing is guaranteed. Even when the reward is still far away. Because now you understand something most people never fully accept. The reward is not the destination. The reward is who you become while walking toward it. And that changes everything. Because if the reward is external, you will always feel delayed. But if the reward is internal transformation, you are never behind. You are always becoming. And becoming does not follow a schedule. It follows repetition. And repetition requires patience, not passive waiting, but active consistency. And that is where your strength is being built right now. In the decisions no one sees, in the discipline no one praises, in the effort no one acknowledges, and slowly your life begins to reflect that invisible work, not all at once, but gradually, like pressure building inside structure before it becomes visible strength. And people will not understand it at first. They will only see the outcome later. They will say you changed suddenly, but you will know the truth. There was nothing sudden about it. It was years of invisible alignment. Years of choosing discipline when comfort was easier. Years of continuing when stopping made more sense. Years of staying when quitting felt logical. And that is why your foundation becomes different. Because most people build their lives on emotion, but you are building yours on discipline. And discipline is stronger than emotion. Emotion changes daily, but discipline stays consistent. And consistency is what creates results that last. So you continue, not because you feel strong every day, but because you have decided to be consistent regardless of how you feel. And that decision alone separates you from the majority, because most people depend on feeling ready. But you are learning to act regardless of readiness, and readiness is not a feeling. It is a habit formed through repetition. And repetition in the quiet years is what is shaping you into someone different. Someone who does not panic when progress is slow. Someone who does not quit when validation is missing. Someone who does not lose direction when results delay. Because now you are grounded in process, not emotion. And process never lies, it only unfolds. Step by step, day by day, without noise, without announcement, without permission. And one day, when everything you have been building internally finally becomes visible externally, you will not feel surprised. You will feel aligned. Because deep down, you already became that person long before the world noticed it. And that is what makes you dangerous. Not because you changed overnight, but because you stayed long enough in the quiet years to never need external confirmation again. And now you reach a point where something changes permanently inside you. You stop looking at life the same way. Not because life became easier, but because you became clearer. You begin to understand that everything you once thought was a delay was actually development. Everything you once called a failure was actually redirection. Everything you once felt was a nothing happening was actually something forming beneath the surface. And that realization changes how you see your entire journey. You stop resenting the quiet years. You start respecting them, because now you can see what they built inside you. What discipline that does not depend on emotion, focus that does not depend on motivation, strength that does not depend on validation. And that combination is rare, because most people never survive long enough to develop it. They leave too early, they quit too soon, they react too fast. But you stayed. Oh, even when it made no sense, even when nothing was changing, even when progress was invisible, and that staying changed everything. Because staying is where identity is formed, not in comfort, not in success, not in applause, but in persistence through silence. And now that you have reached this stage, you realize something very important. You are no longer the same person who started this journey. The version of you that once doubted everything is gone, not erased, but evolved. Because doubt cannot survive long enough inside discipline. It slowly loses power, and what replaces it is something stronger. Clarity. And clarity does not shout, it does not rush, it does not panic, it does not depend on external signals. It simply knows. And when you know, you move differently. You think differently. You respond differently. You carry yourself differently, not because the world changed, but because you did. And that is the real outcome of the quiet years. Not fame, not attention, not instant success, but transformation. Deep transformation, the kind that cannot be faked, the kind that cannot be rushed, the kind that cannot be reversed. Because once you have lived through silence and stayed disciplined, you cannot go back to being inconsistent. It feels unnatural now, and that is the true danger. Not that you become loud, but that you become steady, unshakable, focused, and patient enough to let time do its work without interference. Because now you understand something most people never truly accept. Everything meaningful takes time. And anything that grows fast without foundation collapses fast under pressure. So you are no longer in a hurry. You are no longer desperate for instant results. You are no longer controlled by external timelines. You are aligned with your own process, and that alignment is power. Because when your mind, your discipline, and your actions all move in the same direction, nothing external can easily disrupt you. You become stable in chaos. Focused in distraction, calm in pressure. And that is what makes you dangerous in the most controlled way. Not because you seek destruction, but because nothing can easily shake you anymore. And as you move forward from here, you carry something most people never develop. Not confidence based on success, but confidence based on survival. You survived the quiet years. You survived the invisible phase. You survived when nothing made sense, and that survival became your foundation. And so now, whatever comes next in your life will not define you the same way. Because you are no longer building from uncertainty. You are building from experience. An experience built in silence is the strongest foundation a person can have. So keep going. Not because you are chasing something, but because you have already become someone. No. And that someone does not stop anymore.